Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a very short reading wrap up because I did not read what I set out to read. So I originally wanted to read four books, which was How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, The Forest of Lost Souls by Dean someone, The Stranger in Her House, and The New Friend. So if you go back to my previous video, I describe what those books are about. Out of those, I started The Forest of Lost Souls and I got about 10 pages in and I was so bored. I just could not get into the writing style. I do want to go back and give it another go, but I'm not going to let myself get too far into it if I don't enjoy it. I finished The New Friend. That was the shortest of the four books, and I quite enjoyed it. It was, the plot twist was, I think, there for twist's sake, if that makes sense, and I knew something was wrong with The New Friend from like pretty much the get-go, and it all seemed a bit sus, so it was a bit like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I rated that a 3.5. I mostly enjoyed it. It just, for a £200 for a 200-page book, it felt like it was longer. How to Sell a Haunted House, I am 70-something% of the way through that. 72% of the way through that, and I'm really enjoying it. It is exactly the creepy vibes that I needed. Maybe too creepy because I do not want to read this at the night. And then I've started Horror Star, also by Grady Hendrix. And again, that's one that is starting to creep me out, so I cannot read it on a night time because I will literally just be thinking about it whilst I'm trying to sleep, and it'll just and then because I couldn't read it at night, and over the weekend most of my reading was done on the night, I finished Fairy Tale Volume 2, which is not on theme, but it's an easy read, so so I did awfully. But How to Sell a Haunted House and Horror Star I plan on finishing this week. So moving on to this week, my TBR is, the theme is Creature Feature. There is a set of 6 books on Amazon, so you can get it on Audible or Kindle Unlimited, and there are 6 short stories by 6 different authors. So the first one's called The Pram by Joe Hill, and it says, a husband's obsessive desire for a child leads to an unexpected manifestation of his yearning in a nightmarish short story about fatherhood dreams by New York Times bestseller author Joe Hill. So that'll probably make me cry. The second one is by Grady Hendrix. There's a theme. Called Ankle Snatcher. So that one says, obey the rules. It's the only way to survive the night, in a short story about what hides in the dark. Marcus grew up believing his father killed his mother, then blamed it on the boogeyman under his bed. Always leave the lights on, his father warned, or the boogeyman will get you. Marcus still heeds the superstition, especially when he invites his new girlfriend over. So then the third book is called It Waits in the Woods by Josh Malerman. And the blurb is, some chilling campfire tales ring too true to ignore. For one young woman, an urban legend calls her into the woods in a spine-tingling short story by the best-selling author of Bird Box. I have seen the show, but I didn't even know that was a book. That might be one that I need to add to my list. The dense Michigan forest, haunting walls, the clip-clop of demon hooves on a bridge to nowhere. It's more than a telltale to Brenda Jennings, whose sister disappeared in those woods one fateful night. 3 years later, on a solo stakeout in the dark, Brenda goes in after her. 3 years later and you're going in after her. She's desperate for answers and terrified to find what lies waiting on the other side of that bridge. Interesting. So then the fourth book is called In Bloom by Paul Tremblay. There's something in the water in this hallucinatory short story. Journalist Heidi Cohen is in Cape Cod investigating the sources of recurring toxic algae blooms along the coast. A local named Jimmy has his own theory for her. Every year, the fettled growth gets worse, but it's been going on longer than anyone knows. Decades ago, something happened to Jimmy that he's never forgotten. Is Heidi ready for the real story? Next one is called Best of Luck by Jason Mott. Did you ever hear the one about the man with a string of bad luck? The worst is still to come. For best friends with vastly different fortunes, what's left to hash out other than the forced confession at gunpoint? All that the destitute, sickly and grieving will demands is that monstrously successful Barry admit to draining all the luck right out of him, like blood. As the standoff escalates, the truth is not the only thing ready to come out. And then the last one is called Big Bad by Chandler Baker. For a family trying to make an isolated farmhouse into a home, fear and rage are getting harder to control in a primal short story. The Strauss family is on knife's edge. Sam is a resentful stay-at-home dad. Rachel feels the restlessness in her blood returning. Their children are getting out of hand, and the recent mudslide has forced the wolves out of the woods to look for food. As dusk falls and tensions rise, the family must come together to survive the night from the threats outside and those within. So all of these books are 50, 60, 70-ish pages, and I'm curious to see whether the character development, because characters are a big thing for me, so I'm curious to see whether the character development is going to be established enough for me to enjoy such a short book, considering they're going to have to shut out the plot as well. So that is my TBR, the 6 short stories, and then the 2 that I am currently reading that I want to finish. Thanks for watching.